is why you would want to be here. I really encourage you, and you've heard other people say, really embrace this course. It's more than just a checkbox. I know it's another stepping stone, but this is an awesome opportunity because it helps you get past what I would call a catch-22. Does anybody know what a catch-22 is? Okay, yep, that's right. Catch-22 is actually the name of a book, and in the book, there's a pilot who has to fly 22 missions to get home. The problem is most pilots don't make it past 18 missions. What I mean by that, make it past, is they usually get shot down and they die. Or they're captured, prisoner, whatever. So he's got to decide. It's kind of a lose-lose, right? I'm hosed either way. If I take all 22 missions and get past it, I get to go home. But if I don't, I get to stay and I could die. So I can't really get out of it either way. The reason, the situation you're in right now as a catch-22 is you're about to launch out at some point into some type of career or job opportunity, right? Maybe that's delayed by college or military training or a gap year, whatever, but at some point you're going to try and apply for that first kind of what we call a real job. And I'm not meaning any job you've had, and a lot of you work hard and you work on farms and babysit and you work at Fairway and pizza. Those are all awesome jobs, but at some point there's a difference between a job and a career. Right? A job is something you do. A career is more of something of what you are. Like, it's more of a path that takes you somewhere. At some point, you're going to jump into a career. You're going to go to an interview. You're going to talk to somebody across the desk, maybe even virtually in this environment, right? But at some point, they're going to ask you about why you're qualified to do this job. You're going to tell them about how you went to college or how you got good grades when you were in high school. Maybe you got terrible grades. I don't know. But you're going to tell them, you're going to give them some type of reasoning, right? What they're going to say is, hey, that's really great, I'm sorry, but we're really looking for somebody with experience. And you're going to be like, well, how do I get experience if I can't get that first job? Like, that doesn't make sense, right? That's what we would call a paradox or a catch-22. You can't get a job without experience, but without experience, you have to have a job. So what this class allows you to do, and what I would really encourage you to do, is try to look at your project that you're going to be doing and the type of work that you're going to be completing here, put it towards something you want to do long term. So for instance, if I've ever wanted to be a veterinarian, like that's really awesome. I meet students all the time, like they love animals. That's why I want to be a vet. I grew up on a farm, so animals were like more like things, right? Like they're a destination, right? So we had a dog. It wasn't really like you loved the dog worked cattle. Like that's what it did. I mean, the dog was nice, but it didn't sleep. Now my daughter, she has a dog, and I'm supposed to love it and care for it. And I'm really challenging. Same with these kittens that were created by the devil to torment me. Like they're not things, right? So me, like I don't identify, but there are people like they would sleep with a bed full of dogs and kittens, and they love it, and it's awesome. That's their life. That's great. So I want to be a vet because I love animals. Turns out, the hard part about being a vet is sometimes you have to put an animal down. Are you willing to do that? Or a dog has a limb that needs maybe removed. Are you able to do that and deal with a sight of blood? Or usually people come to the vet not because their animal's healthy, but because they're sick. So can you handle that? So what this opportunity does is it gives you a chance to like explore something in the veterinarian world. Or, hey, I love business. Turns out I really hate numbers. Well, that's a tough place to be, right? Like, because a lot of businesses require budgets, analysts, things like that. Like, even as a principal, I have a budget, and I have to look at it, and I have to run some numbers, make sure we don't overspend. Apparently, that's bad, right? So this gives you an opportunity to link into something that you want to do and get some of those things and kind of what I would call ooch your way into whatever your next career is. I mean, just kind of take a small step into it. Doesn't mean you're locked in anything. If you do this project with City Laundry, doesn't mean you love laundry. Right? Like, I love clean laundry. I don't like doing it. But it means that maybe it's an opportunity. The other thing is you've begun to already develop a relationship that could get you somewhere else. So with that, part of how I got here, I met Mrs. Capel, I don't know, 10 years ago? At least, yeah. One of the only people I knew, met her at a conference. We were both social studies teachers. And Mrs. Capel, it doesn't surprise you, was like a rock star in the city, had her doing all these big level presentations. I would go and sit, and I was like, man, she's awesome. And now I get to work with her every day. Like, how cool is that? And we're across the state from each other. But I knew her by her reputation, by something that she did. She was engaged in, right? That was, in this case, a good reputation. People will know you by a bad reputation, too. So Oldwine's a small community. I don't have to tell you that, right? You know that. People know your business before you do. Like, oh, yeah, I didn't know I was going to do that. Now you do. They already found out, right? So by that, your reputation's already started and will start. This project is a piece of who you are. So at some point, if you want to get hired in Oldwine or near Oldwine or even in the state of Iowa or even America, chances are the things you do now, someone will know you good or bad by this experience. And that's not a lot. That's not a ton of pressure, but that's a little bit to say if you go and you have a bad relationship with the project that you start here and the people that you connect with to do this, that will carry with you to the next thing. Every time I interview somebody, I look at their resume, but I'm honestly, what I'm scanning for is the bottom. The bottom of every resume, they put references. So when I hired Mrs. Dillon, we called her principal, and they said, hey, how was Mrs. Dillon as an ag teacher over at Jessup? Oh, she was amazing. Like, she did this, she took our chapter here, boom, I want Mrs. Dillon here. If I had called and they're like, there's a long pause, and like, I can't really say what I want to say, she eats her own scabs and she's gross, like that's probably not somebody I want to hire. She's late all the time, whatever, she's doing meth out back. I mean, I don't know, like, those are bad things, right? That's a different teacher that we didn't hire, right? Like, yeah, she still has most of her teeth, so she's good. But the reality is those are things that we look for. I'll be honest with you, I looked through Mrs. Dillon's resume, but I checked to see was she certified to do the job, yeah. But it was really the conversation with where she had been. That's where it's going to go. So for you guys, this is a great opportunity to begin to kind of move past that paradox, that catch-22, and say, hey, this is an opportunity to link up with somebody where if I go and do a project with Irvine Water, they're pretty connected in the community. It's not just that you're doing something with Irvine Water, it's that you're doing with somebody that knows and does business with them. They go out and say, hey, you know what, we had this student, Naomi, she was awesome, I think you should hire her to do this other job, right? So that's a reference for you, it becomes something that gets you through there. What I gave you is just kind of a quick, call it like a white paper is what it is, just a quick short thing on overcoming this paradox of getting experience, which you have the opportunity to do. This is from Yale, you probably heard of it, small school, they do a couple things kind of big, but I just want to hit the highlights because you're all proficient readers, but this just kind of gives you some challenges of things you can do now to begin to kind of get your way into those career paths that we talked about, including this class. Number one, get credentials. What are credentials? What is credential? Somebody help me out. Is the microphone on? Okay. Credentials. You know what credentials are. What's credential? What? A degree could be information on what? You're both right.
Yourself.
Yeah, yourself. It's information that you know how to do this job, right? That you know how to do something. It could be a degree. It could be a certification. Might be a better way. So something I highly encourage all high school students to do is get that CNA. CNA, Certified Nursing Assistant, is an awesome job. They work every shift. You can do it anytime. You open up any newspaper in the country, they're looking for CNAs. All the what we call the boomers, right? You guys call boomers, and the baby boomers, they're retiring. They're getting into retirement homes. They need people to help, and it's a good paying job, $10, $12 an hour to take care of somebody who is given their whole life to your community. Pretty awesome opportunity. But to do that, you have to be credentialed. You have to get your Certified Nursing Assistant, kind of certification. You have to do that. We've talked through that a little bit, something that maybe you might be interested in, Carly, or others. So that's something that would be a credential. You would need that. Now, to be somebody who worked in the kitchen, you might not need a credential. Maybe you need a safe serve thing like that. But this is an opportunity to work with somebody who does credentials. Ask them, like, how do you get OSHA certified? OSHA is a company that basically makes sure people are safe in the workplace. How do I get CPR certified? That's something that's big. A lot of companies look for through your first aid. All these different things. There's credentials that you can get that don't necessarily take going to college for, but that can get you kind of through there. On page 2, number 2, volunteer. Now, obviously, senior seminar, this is required, but it might lead into an awesome opportunity to where you can volunteer and ask, like, how can I get more involved beyond just this project with your company that I can help you with? This is a big one. Here's the thing, volunteer and community service, the number one way to get a scholarship is through community service. That's the number one question that I get as a principal. People will call and say, hey, I've got 2 great candidates. They both got for this scholarship. It's a $2,000 scholarship. Mr. Hadley from our community state bank, like, we want to know between these 2 students, can you tell us who has more community service, who's more involved in their community? Oh, it's this student? That's the student they choose every single time. It's not always about your athletics. Those are great. It's not always about your school participation here. They're like, what do you do outside of OHS? What is it? So that's a great way to get that job and to get things done. Part of how I got into education, my wife and I did youth group for years. We volunteered unpaid for a long time at our church. It was a great experience to say, hey, you know what? I can work with young people. Like, I've done it, and I do it outside of here. Pretty awesome. Number 3, re-envision your existing experience. What it's saying here is like if you already have a job but you want a better one, how do you get it? What I would say is, as you're looking at your senior seminar, if you've got kind of an idea, dial it down even further and really look at trying to solve a problem for somebody. Here's the thing, when you come in and say, hey, I want to help your company, start with an end in mind. Like, what's a problem that they have? One of the examples I used, I mentioned Irvine Water a while ago, like they came out and looked at our water softener. That one thing might be water softener distribution. Everybody's got to have it. How do we get the pellets out to everybody? How do we get that? Is that something you guys can help streamline with? Is that a warehouse issue? How can I do that? Come with a solution in mind, and no one's going to turn you away if you have a solution. It's awesome. I work with, like I said, one of my other jobs in the Iowa Army National Guard. I met with Sergeant Thronson. Some of you probably have seen her around. Graduate here, lives here. And I said, what do you have for me that it's going to be value added for our school? Because like I'm all about bouncy houses and doing fun stuff, but like that doesn't really help some of these young people like get further down the road. What are you going to bring for me? She's like, oh, well, I have all these different solutions I can offer you. Boom, let's do that. All right. And then the last one, number 4. Be willing to start at the bottom. So know that the project you're going to be working on probably isn't going to be a top level project for their company, but it's a start, right? So just start with something, anything at all. One of the things that, I don't know, has anybody ever been to Aldi's? Do you guys go to Aldi's? Like we love Aldi's. I don't know, my wife and I do. One of the things she like drives her crazy about this COVID is like, they wipe your carts and they make sure to make it a big deal when you first get it. But then at the end, if you've ever been to Aldi's, you exchange your cart with the next person. So you've already exchanged it after you've wiped it. She's like, why don't we have something, like that would be a great solution to a company. Be like, hey, can you come up with a way maybe to peel it off so that the person who just touched my cart all the way through, now I grab their cart, we find a way to do that. I don't know, there's a lot of solutions like that, just waiting. I think, honestly, a great thing to develop, this is just between me, I was talking to my daughter yesterday, is an app on your phone, maybe it already exists, that took your temperature for you. Like, and it recorded it. You just send it in, right? Then your coach doesn't have to scan you every day. Like, oh, I just pulled out my cell phone, I stared at it like I do every day, it took my temp, it sends them an email, boom, I'm gone. Or her an email. There you go, $70 billion idea, I'll just take 1%, that's fine. But it doesn't always start with the big apps, right? It starts with the small things. Be willing to start at the bottom. And that's true of any company. You've got to start at the bottom to get to the top. That was one of the things I think some of the employers that you brought in, you guys will look at that, kind of go through there. So just some ideas through here as you go through, but do, again, I know you've heard it, not just because it's required though, really look at this as an opportunity to get you into something that you want to do eventually. So I know I've taken a lot of time, but I want to take just 2 minutes, and I know it's going to put you on the spot, but just as your principal, I just want to hear, like, what are you interested in after May? Like, what do you want to do, like, long term? So we're going to start here, because he's stretching and ready to go, getting his brain going. Just like, what's the goal? Like, what do you want?
I want to study health science.
You want to study health science? Yeah, that's awesome. To do what? Like, what would that take you to?
Like therapy.
Therapy, yeah, physical therapy, yeah. So one of the couple options here, I know the physical therapy department that's attached to this school, I've talked to them, like they want to work together. You might be somebody to reach out to, and you guys have probably already gone through this, but also Buchanan Health, who was here the other day, and I'm sure Performance would probably want to work with you too. So I think physical therapy is an awesome option. And within that, there's a million things, right? It's not just physical therapy, but there's all these machines they sell to go with it, and equipment, and awesome, cool. How about you?
Police officer.
Police officer, alright, cool, yeah, I like it. Protect and serve, yeah, that's pretty cool, so lots of opportunities there. Have you done a ride along or done anything like that? Yeah.
I did a job shadow.
Nice.
Future planning.
Nice, Mr. Thomas got you hooked up, look at that. Yeah. Yeah. How about you?
Aerospace engineering.
Oh, wow, okay, very cool, yeah. So what's like you want to be?
Eventually work in NASA.
Yeah, just a rocket science, no big deal. Yeah, I got you. Yeah, whatever. I barely got my pants on today, but you're gonna be like, yeah, I'm really glad. I feel really underwhelmed right now. Like, okay, so you should probably lead this next time. But I like that. Cool. There's a lot of industries. I don't know if you can get to Cedar Rapids, but Collins over there, aerospace, like they do like some of the best work in the state of Iowa in regards to that. So I don't know if there's any openings for that. But go ahead.
I want to be a technical electronics engineer.
Electronic engineer? Cool. So like you're thinking develop electronics, work on them, what's the end state? Like what does it look like?
Really like make stuff.
Yeah, very cool. Awesome. Yeah, I've actually had trouble with my truck radio, so we'll talk. But yeah. Alright, cool.
Drive semi and then be a volunteer firefighter.
Awesome. Yeah, yeah. I mean, so like a lot of people would hear drive a semi and be like, whoa, why would you want to do that? My brother, no college experience, makes more than I do. He drives truck and he's also a volunteer.